IVM.
I'm Zarina Poonawalla, host of the Empowering Series podcast on the IVM network. I am your peak performance coach and leadership coach, and I'm here to share with you productivity tools, life-altering techniques, and real-life hacks to help you achieve your maximum potential in everything you do, in your relationships, professions, and most importantly, your life. So let's thrive, grow, and evolve together, one episode at a time. How often do you regret that explosion or that outburst because of your hot-headedness and anger? How good are you at motivating yourself, at motivating people around you, at getting a job done? How many times do people tell you, stop crying, stop being so emotional about things, stop being so sensitive, stop being so angry? How often are you snapping around at your employees or kids or spouse just because you are bothered by something and you can't put a finger to it? So what you do is you find a fault in someone around you and you start venting. You start throwing all that anger and diverting all that anger towards them. How often does that happen? All right. Although I've asked you all these questions, there are 3 really important questions that I'm going to ask you now. So close your eyes and answer them truthfully. Now, I'm not listening to you, but you are listening to yourself, right? So please be honest. On a scale of 1 to 10, how emotional are you? Okay. On a scale of 1 to 10, how intelligent are you? On a scale of 1 to 10, how emotionally intelligent are you? Most of you must have lost me on that 3rd question, right? Or maybe you marked yourself somewhere between 3 and 6. What is emotional intelligence? Why haven't you learnt about this before? Why do you need it in your life? And why is Zarina swearing by it so much? Emotional intelligence is the ability to understand, manage, and respond to your emotions and those of the people around you. Emotional intelligence is a foundational skill. It is primary to everything you do. Literally everything. How you work, your conduct, your temperament, your behavior, how you treat your friends, your kids, your spouse, your colleagues, how you speak to your clients, how you speak to your colleagues, your bosses, how you manage yourself, your feelings, your relationships, your business, your leadership, and the list is never ending. It is such a pity that as a society we've been so cryptic about our emotional skills that we've been trained and wired to excel in a sport. Excel in academics, at an instrument, kind of fit into a circle and make money. But we are not wired at all on how to understand what we feel, how to process that feeling and respond to it. We're not wired to understand people, perceive people. This entire concept of understanding EQ has been going on for several years, but it was Daniel Goleman who shared a deeper understanding of this and divided it into 4 key areas, components. Now think of emotional intelligence as the roof of your home. What does a good home stand on? It stands on a strong foundation, right? And that strong foundation is probably the 4 pillars of your home. So here are the 4 pillars of emotional intelligence for you. Self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship building. All words that you've known, you've heard, you've listened to speakers talk about repeatedly, but you don't know how to use this in combination, how to use this together and build that much needed emotional intelligence in you. So, the first step here is, how do we become more emotionally intelligent as people? How do you become more emotionally intelligent as a person? It's divided simply into these 4 primary categories. self-awareness, self-management, social awareness, and relationship building. Now, self-awareness and self-management are part of your personal competence, whereas social awareness and relationship building are part of your social competence. First off, be self-aware. Knowing how you feel, what you feel, being aware of your emotions in real time, that is a key factor. Your decisions depend on it, and it's also your moral compass in more ways than one. What you could do is you could journalize with your focus on EQ and self-awareness. So keep it directed with these two questions about your feelings. All right, how do I feel? And what would I like to do about how I feel? Just these two questions. Start with that. That's how you become more self-aware in real time. Then we move on to self-management. How you respond to your emotions. Once you're aware, once you know what you're feeling, how do you manage those emotions? I'd say more how you respond to your distressing emotions and what you do about it. How you manage and regulate your distressing emotions, emotions that bother you, especially the ones that are often experienced on a daily basis, such as disappointment, frustration, anger, sadness. Try and understand how to regulate your distressing emotions. Then we come to social awareness. Social awareness has much to do with a concept we've discussed repeatedly, and that is empathy. Mind you, when it comes to EQ, empathy is not just about stepping into another person's shoes and feeling how they feel. You may not even feel the same way, but it's about understanding where another person's emotions stem from and then probably finding a way to deal with it or helping them find a way to deal with it. So it's not necessarily you feeling the same emotions as somebody else, but being able to understand where those emotions come from and deal with them accordingly. Empathy is gold. Social awareness is gold, and it goes a long, long way. So you've got to use it. You've got to be able to handle that and regulate that with people. And finally comes the social skills. So relationship building. I'd like to look at this as the last bit of the coming together of self-awareness, self-management, and social awareness. And relationship building being the last piece of the puzzle, putting this whole picture of emotional intelligence together for you. This one is not about you. This one is about those around you. It's the simple ability to understand people without being biased. It's not easy, I know. It's not easy to build relationships. Sometimes you find it easy, but it's not easy to maintain them. But it is doable. Relationship building allows you to network, increase your community base, help manage conflict, be a good negotiator, and in fact, be a great influence. It's the ability to understand and work in synergy with people without disrupting the balance. The one thing that you need to understand about emotional intelligence here is that emotions are not meant to be stopped or controlled. You are human and you ought to feel it all. You're going to feel all the emotions. Everything on that spectrum. Emotions are meant to be understood, managed, and regulated. You don't need to do more than that. That's all you need to do. Remember this and remember it well. People don't care how much you know. People want to know how much you care. And for that purpose, emotional intelligence makes you more aware about yourself, more aware of people around you, and you can show care, compassion. You can deal with sensitivity. At the same time, you can manage and regulate your emotions without being overdramatic. Lastly, this is the concept of emotional intelligence. Join me in the next episode to learn about how to actually exercise emotional intelligence in your life, in your daily life, at your workplace, in your leadership roles, in your relationships, and see the difference. Just watch how miraculously your life transforms. Be safe, be well, be empowered. If you liked this podcast, don't forget to check out other interesting podcasts on the IVM network. You can listen to us on the IVM Podcast app or ivmpodcast.com. You can also follow us on our social media. We are at IVM Podcasts on Twitter and Instagram.
Hey everybody, let me tell you a little bit about what happened on the IVM Podcast Network this week. If you are a fan of the network, you should definitely check out Naan Kari. Sadaf and Archit were joined by Keshav Chaturvedi of the Tere Mere Raste podcast. They talk about travel and food and, how important food is when you're considering travel. It's a really, really interesting conversation. Do check that out. Let me give you another couple of quick hits to check out. On Storytellers and Storysellers, Vineet talks to Ashim Mathur from Dolby. On Smarter with Sid, Siddharth examines how Netflix is getting into e-commerce. Check out Misconduct with Raghavi and Nisha to learn about some of India's most famous criminals. And don't forget, do follow us on Facebook, Twitter, LinkedIn, and Instagram to keep up with what's going on the network. And finally, I'd like to thank the sponsors of the network this week. They are what makes this possible. Thank you so much, Seat, Cred, Global Victoria, Bank of Baroda, Intuit, and Lenovo. We really do appreciate the support.
पेश खिदमत है आपकी शान में हमारे अंजुमन से. Hi, I am Sadaf.
And I'm Archit. खाने का इतिहास, economics, policy, psychology, सब है मेन्यू पे.
Only on the Naan Kari podcast every Wednesday. सिर्फ IVM podcast ऐप या वेबसाइट पर या फिर जहां से भी आप अपने पॉडकास्ट सुनते हो.